Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel Torres, and the MMA detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy.
Welcome back to the Lytes Out Podcast. I am the MMA detective, Mike Davis. Along with us today, we got Eddie Wineland. Eddie, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about your pre-UFC career here. Okay. But before we do that, let's get through your plugs. Working out, working, coaching, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, since quitting fighting, man, it's I'm busier now. You know, I'm coaching the kids wrestling team, finishing up house projects. I'm finishing up car projects. We're camping, we're fishing, just staying busy all the time between working and training. Well, I still train a little bit, not as much as I used to, obviously, but working out, still do a little bit of training, but mainly I've been focusing on my boys and the youth wrestling team here.
So you get your kids in wrestling, huh?
Yeah. Jack, my oldest, he actually just won last weekend. It was a grade school state meet down in Brownsburg. We went to Brownsburg. He took first place down there.
Really?
Yeah. So we got ISWA state this weekend, which probably going to be a little bit rougher than the grade school state was, but it's just the way they block the age groups. He's on the tail end of the age group, so he's the younger, lighter kid in there, so he's kind of at a disadvantage, but it's all right. It builds character. It's all part of the journey. That's what I keep telling all the kids. You know, you're not going to win everything. It's wrestling. Wrestling builds your character. It's not winning or losing. It's about who you're going to become and who you are, and it teaches you a lot about yourself.
It teaches you not how to lose, but how to handle a loss.
Yes.
And how not to have that feeling again.
Absolutely. And, you know, last year was my oldest, his first year really wrestling. I mean, we were roughhouse in the basement all the time. We'd practice a little bit, but last year he went 28-1 as a first year wrestler.
Come on.
And the only match he lost was to the kid in the state finals. And the kid that he lost to in the state finals, he actually beat 14-12 2 weeks prior to that. So, but you know, at the end of the day, I'll take that loss over a state championship any day, because he was 28-0 up until that point. You know,
as a first year wrestler.
First year wrestler, yeah. Like I said, we roughhouse and he's a little better than your average first year wrestler. I'll give you that. But to see how he was going to handle, he's 8. He was 7 years old. Yeah, he's 8 now. But
got him lined up, man. You're getting him ready.
To see how he handled that first loss, that to me was worth more than a state championship, because I didn't know how he was going to handle it. You know, I already know he hates to lose, because he's my kid. I hate to lose. If you and I try and sign our names at the same time, I'm going to try and sign it faster than you can. But just because I hate to lose that much. And I know he's got that same mentality. After he lost the match, the kid, he must have went back and he was working for the 2 weeks. He was working on a near side cradle, because he took a shot on Jack, and Jack, he sprawled. They got into a little bit of a scramble. Man, he snatched the near side and stuck him. It was real quick. And I asked Jack, I said, well, what happened, dude? I don't know. He cried for about 2 minutes, which I get it. You know, hey, you did great.
He cares.
Yep, you did great. You did 28-1. You know, I'm very proud of you, you know. But as soon as he saw the other kid that just beat him walking around the mat, he said, Dad, put me down. So I put him down. And he walked up to the little kid, and he walked up and he said, hey, congratulations. You wrestled really well and you did a good job. Holy shit. That to me, that, like I said, that's worth more.
Handled it better than you.
Me. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. To see how he handled that first loss was, like I said, he was upset, didn't like it, but listen, you were better than me today. Congratulations. So
that's everything, man.
You see some of these kids, they lose and they're screaming, crying, kicking, throwing a fit. It's like, oh boy, don't be that kid, you know? So he handled it really well. And this year has been some ups and downs. Like I said, he's wrestling up in age this year, and he's wrestling up in weight. At 8 years old, he's still only 43, 44 pounds. He's tiny. but he's wrestling these kids that are 49 and 50, which to the average person, oh, well, you're talking 5 or 6 pounds. But you and I both know when you're talking that much weight at that
it's huge.
That's over 10% of your body weight. That's like me fighting a 205 pounder or me fighting a 185 pounder. You know, that's not fair. You know, if the kids he was wrestling didn't know what they were doing and they had a 5-pound advantage, the odds are kind of even now because Jack knows what he's doing, but you've got a weight advantage, you know. So it is, he's had ups and downs, but when he got down to Brownsburg and got to wrestle kids that were actually his age and his weight, he handled business and did really, really well.
Dude, that's what it's all about, man. And like your roots, although you're known as a striker, I think it's shocking to certain people to understand that you were a decent little wrestler in high school.
Look at the UFC, still the UFC takedown defense rankings. I'm still, I think, in the top 5. You know, that's
really,
yeah, I'm in the top 5 of not just bantamweight, but top 5 total. I think it's like 95% or something, 95 or 97% takedown defense rate.
Yeah, what I think people fail to understand is they always talk about like wrestlers falling in love with striking.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually happens after a world title or after several fights in the UFC. And when we're coming with you, your falling in love with striking was probably match 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
And people had no idea that you actually knew how to do a takedown, let alone.
No, I wrestled since I was Jack's age. I mean, since I was 6, 8 years old, I wrestled. Now I wasn't very great. I'm a far better wrestler right now than I am then, but my mindset's also different now than it was then. But it's like you said, I realized, hitting, when you hit somebody, they fall down and you win and they pay you money. It's, man, I just want to punch people, you know? So I fell in love with striking and wrestling. Not that striking doesn't take years and years. It takes years and years and years to perfect, but you could teach somebody to be a skilled boxer, I would say, in a year. Whereas wrestling, there's so many moving parts. It's like jujitsu. That's a lifelong thing. I can teach somebody how to throw a combination duck and weave in under a year.
Yeah.
So you see these high level
with some proficiency. Yeah, with some proficiency.
You see these high level wrestlers, and you see them throwing punches, and they look like professional boxers. You're like, well, wait a minute, you're a wrestler. Well, that's because when you're an athlete and you pick things up super fast, you know, and you can teach how to throw a punch and a proper punch and to evade a punch fairly simply to somebody like that.
Okay. So Eddie's obviously from Indiana, you know, for those of you that might not know. And what I think people fail to understand is in terms of like, there's certain areas of the country that are known for like wrestling powerhouses. Mm-hmm. And Northwest Indiana is one of those areas. Like you guys got Crown Point. They're always like in the top 10 in the entire country.
Yep.
I mean, you guys, Mount Carmel High School, Marist High School, just over the border within driving distance.
Well, you look at Mount Carmel's head coach, Alex Sturtzis. Look at that dude. That dude, 4-time Indiana State champion. Iowa wrestler. I don't know what he did in college.
I think he was a 2-time national champion at Iowa.
Yeah. So you got the Sturtzis brothers. I mean, just the Hernandez, the Escobedos. There's this area is full. And like Aiden Torres from Chesterton was Chesterton's first 4-time state placer. Went 52-0 this year and won a state title at 145. I think he beat the kid in the finals 11-2. They said it was the most dominant finals match of the entire tournament.
Yeah. So your area in terms of just corn-fed wrestling is like you're doing with your boy. It starts at the beginning and it reflects in your career. So let's begin. So your first gym that you started at, I believe, was Duneland Vale Tudo. Am I correct?
Yep. Keith and Justin.
How Keith and Justin Wisniewski, how does that relationship start?
So Jason Beach, I don't know. Do you recall Jason Beach?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Jason Beach, I graduated with him. And I remember he was doing the boxing and the kickboxing and the jiu-jitsu, and he started fighting our sophomore year in high school. And I just remember thinking, dude, you're fucking nuts, man. That's just crazy. You're going out there fist fighting these grown ass men. I remember him showing me a video. He's a 16, 17-year-old kid fighting a 35-year-old Marine hand-to-hand combat expert. It might have been, it was either on your card or Goitia. I don't remember where it was at. But just, I mean, flatlined this dude, completely throttled him. And I remember after high school, I wasn't going to college. I mean, I went to college, but it was a local college here. There's no wrestling team. So it's kind of like I got nothing to do. And he invited me up there. Why don't you come try it out one time? And I said, I was kind of hesitant because I didn't want to voluntarily go get hit in the face. And I remember the first night I was there, they said, okay, put the gloves on. You got a mouthpiece? Yeah, I got a mouthpiece. Justin Wisniewski popped me in the nose. I bled like a stuck pig. I had a white shirt on. My white shirt was red. And I'll tell you, I went home that day. I'll be back tomorrow. This is awesome. And I mean, from there, it was hooked. And I remember we were the first few months training with Keith. You know, he looked at me and he said, you know, if you really want to stick with this and you really train hard, I think we can make you one of the best fighters in the world. Come on, man. All the people in the world, you're telling me that this little hillbilly from Indiana is going to be one of the best in the world?
Yeah.
No way. No, right. He wasn't wrong.
So Duneland Vale Tudo, just so we interviewed Keith Wisniewski already. Fantastic interview. His junior year of high school, he headlined against Shoney Carter. So like these Indiana boys were fighting grown men with international experience from the start of high school. I think his like third fight was Joey Gilbert. Yep. Guy took third in ADCC and lost a split decision to him. So essentially these guys were on their front lawns, teaching themselves how to fight.
Literally, I very specifically remember training in their front yard. When the weather was nice, we would go and train in their front yard.
And you guys probably produced 5 or 6 people that went on to the UFC.
Yeah.
Out of some small hillbilly backwoods area of Indiana.
Yep.
With all homegrown talent.
Yep, absolutely.
So okay, let's talk about your first fight. April 12, 2003 is the first one that I could find. It was Maximum Combat. I think it was in Fort Wayne. Joel Cleverly. Is that your actual first fight?
Yep. That was my first fight. So that fight, I believe I was supposed to, I was originally supposed to fight him, and I got there and they said, well, you know, the guy, he's 20, 30 pounds overweight, blah, blah, blah. We're going to pair you with this other guy from here. I said, no. It was supposed to be for a belt, $100, you know, $100 back then. Like I said, I'm 17-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid just out of high school. Give me $100 to go fight this guy. And I didn't really care so much about the money, but it was like, hey man, I'm going to get a belt for this. So I wanted to fight for the belt. And, you know, again, looking back now, Fort Wayne bar, you're pulling people out of the crowd in jeans to fight. So I don't care if this guy's overweight or not. I'm fighting him. I want to fight for the belt. I guess, okay, this is your choice. Yeah, you're right. It's my choice. So I remember getting in there, and this guy, Joel Cleverly, I don't know how old he was at the time, but he was gray, balding, and he looked at me. He said, I'm going to fucking kill you. Ugh. And here I am, an 18-year-old kid, got long, shaggy hair. I think I looked like I belonged on the beaches of California somewhere. And so I'm, okay, but I'm ready to fight. You know, I'm shaking my first fight. I pissed him off so bad. I flustered him literally from one end of the cage to the other. He dropped both of his hands, screamed as loud as he could, and took off running at me. I sidestepped him and slammed his head into the cage. He fell down. I mounted him and pounded him out. So
I think it was, I remember I wasn't there for that, but I think it was Mike Bowerstock was the promoter.
It might have been. It's man, that was so long. What that's before fighting was the cool thing to do, man. That's before
it was kind of like an outlaw. It was the outlaw thing.
Right.
It was the NHB days.
They literally, like, I specifically remember on Instagram the other day, a few weeks back, Clay Guida, he had mentioned something about the Silver Palace? Silver Slipper. Yeah. He was talking about how he got pulled out of the crowd to fight, you know, to fight some guy. They literally were pulling guys out of the crowd in blue jeans to come fight. And Clay, he stepped up. I was at that fight.
Me too. I met you there.
Specifically remember that. I
met you there for the first time. Yeah. So we did an interview with Clay Guida, and we went through all of his shenanigans because he was kind of an outlaw. Like John Gorecki was their main guy, also managed Keith Wisniewski, you know, one of the coaches over at Duneland. And I can't tell you how many times like he had to call and apologize to a promoter for Clay and his brother's actions. They were pretty wild. So your first fight, was it with gloves or without?
With gloves.
Okay, so you kind of came at the beginning of the gloved era.
Yep. It was kind of the Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock feud kind of era.
Right. And the thing also with that type of that time period is you guys at Duneland didn't take a lot of time off either.
No.
So how long have you been training prior to this first fight?
Dude, I started training in February of 2003 and had my first fight in April of 2003.
It's like 2.5, 3 months of training.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, let's go. Yeah. I think there was a span there at some point. I think I had 9 fights in like 8 months.
That's what we're going at. That's what we're going down right now. It's not even insane. Like
I fought one weekend and I can't remember if it was the very next weekend or 2 weeks from there. I turned right back around and fought again.
We'll get there.
It was like the Sunday. Okay, I'll go have my cheat meal and then I'll go cut weight again, I guess.
Right. So, did you fight a lot, like on the street and stuff like that growing up, or
no? I think I got in one street fight when I was a senior in high school, and that was it. I was never.
What made you do this?
I don't know. It was after high school. I almost felt not like angry because I'm not an angry guy now.
Yeah.
But like I almost felt like if somebody looked at me wrong, I wanted to fight them, and I don't know why. I just 18-year-old kid full of testosterone. Okay, I don't know. So then once I started going up there training, I said Jason drugged me up there, and at first it was kind of like, I don't know about this because I never wanted to fight. I never wanted to get hit in the face. And I think that's why I didn't get into fights in high school. I just didn't really care to get hit in the face. I understand it's a fight's a fight. You're going to get hit in the face. That's my mentality now. I'm going to hit you. You're going to hit me. We're going to see who's the last one standing. But back then I was like, no, screw that. That's stupid. Why would I want to do that? Yeah, something just after high school, that competitive side of me, I still wanted to compete. After wrestling was over, I didn't really have anything to compete in. I didn't really have anything to push me, to motivate me. So that was my ticket in.
Yeah. Physically too, like you were always pretty lean and jacked as well. Like genetically, you're pretty gifted.
Yeah.
You've always had that attribute. And your demeanor's pretty easy-going. I can't, like, if you're getting into a fist fight, there's got to be something.
Oh yeah, I'm very. You're not gonna rile me up, unless you start messing with my wife and my kids. I don't give a shit. Yeah. It's for what? What do I care? What do I have to prove? B, what's the point? If I let it bother me, that's my fault. That's my problem. That's why I try to tell my boys all the time. And I understand they're brothers, so they're gonna bother each other all the time. But they're constantly. They're being brothers. I get it, but it's like, dude, they're words, man. They are words. They are literally vibrations that are going in one ear and out the other. And how you let that affect you is direct. That's on you. That's your decision. How you let that affect you is your decision. I understand it's your brother, so it's probably really going to irritate you. I get it, but they're words. They are freaking words, man. Words do not hurt.
No, they shouldn't. Absolutely not. So your second fight was a barn burner. This is the first time I saw you fight live.
Yeah.
So your second fight was actually May 21st, 2003, where Ironheart Crown was like a Shooto America show.
Yep.
I want to say it was Mustafa Hussaini. He was one of Keith Hackney's guys. And Keith Hackney at this point had a phenomenal group of people.
Oh yeah.
Like he had some actual studs on his team.
Was Gideon Ray out of there? Yeah.
So Mustafa Hussaini, dude, I wish it was on YouTube because the crowd, the roof came off during this fight.
Yep. That was another one that just, like I said, I fell even deeper in love with boxing, with stand-up fighting. And I thought I knew how to stand up fight until I went to an actual boxing gym and actually started learning how to box. So it was after that fight, because I'm like, oh yeah, I can stand up fight, until we went back and forth. I was like, man, you gotta move your head. You gotta do something. You can't just sit here and swing and stand and trade. I mean, crowd loves it, but at the same time, how many of those fights are you going to take? Each one of those shots is taking a couple of swings off of your fighting career. So, I went to a boxing gym and learned how to throw a proper punch after that. And then like I said, I just fell in love with stand up from there.
Well, this fight was a draw. It was a 2-round fight and went back and forth. I think you may have won maybe the second round. He won the first round, if I recall from memory. And Mustafa Hussaini was his name. And he was kind of like the first view for us of the discipline of what Muslim fighters bring to the table.
Sure.
It's like, the Muslim fighter, it's like, well, I haven't drank for 6 weeks. Well, I've never drank. Well, I haven't smoked for 2 months. Well, I've never smoked. It's a different level of discipline.
Absolutely.
So Mustafa Hussaini and yourself, there was an immediate rematch needed between the two of you because of the draw.
Yeah.
And at Extreme Challenge 51 pre-XFO, which you can find you can actually find this fight on Fight Pass. It was August 2nd, 2003, Extreme Challenge 51.
Yeah.
Do you remember the second one?
I remember you armbarred me. I remember I didn't know not to leave my arm hanging out there, or sometimes it gets ripped off. So yeah, I had him on his back and throwing some shots. And I remember I went to post up, and as soon as I posted up, I went, uh-oh, tap. Yep.
Were you a big ticket seller at this time?
Not very much. I don't think at that point, like I said, it was my third fight, and that one wasn't Hammond.
No.
And usually the Hammond shows were the ones that I sold a lot of tickets to.
Yeah. So Tim Sylvia is the referee. It's kind of funny, seeing him in the ring with you two guys.
Two little midgets in there with a 300-pound heavyweight.
Yeah. Tim didn't have the UFC belt on at the time. One of the few times that Tim wasn't wearing it. The thing with Duneland also is you guys obviously fought local, but you guys also like to kind of push your guys onto the harder shows. And with the Wisniewski brothers, Keith and Justin, they didn't allow a loss get in the way of making you fight hard, a very short time period after that.
Absolutely. And that was I think that's why the talent that came out of Duneland did, because there was no pad your record fights. There was no, this should be a give me. There was no, Keith would, okay, well, this guy's 4-2, you're 3-1. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive fight, and I think that's what Keith liked. He liked to push his guys. He liked to push his guys. He liked to see his guys push themselves, and I think that's why the mentality that came out of that gym and the products that came out of that gym, that I think that's one of the big reasons why.
His brother Justin, first off, Keith Wisniewski is a 50 Fight Club member. I mean, you can't say no very often in order to join that club. And Justin himself, I think he's got 35, 40 fights. And he actually called his career early to kind of concentrate on training guys at the gym. What was it like training with Justin Wisniewski?
Justin is very technical. He's very technical. He's very high paced. He's very fast. Justin, I think, is a very good teacher. I think he was a very good fighter too. But I think the way he taught things and the way he got through to people, I think the way he trained people was really, really good.
Yes. So your next fight, HOOKnSHOOT. At this point, HOOKnSHOOT is a flagship show. Like, if you want to get international exposure or on anybody's radar, at this point in the Midwest, you had to fight on HOOKnSHOOT. It was Miguel Torres and Jeff Osborne, legendary matchmaker and promoter. Stonnie Davis was your opponent.
Yep. I remember that one too.
I lost by heel hook. Yeah.
I almost hung him up after that fight.
Really?
Yeah. I remember in the back, and again, Jason Veach, he was the one that reeled me back in. We were there, and I specifically remember throwing a knee, and I thought that knee caught him in the gut, and that's why he fell. Well, I didn't realize he fell. He dropped to that heel hook. That's what he was doing. And as soon as he grabbed that heel hook, it went pop, pop, pop. Whoa! Something popped. And I remember in the back, I had just got armbarred. Now I'm getting heel hooked. What the hell is this shit? No, I'm sticking with boxing. I'm gonna just stick with stand-up. So here I am, a wrestler at heart, and I want to go to boxing. And that's I told him, I said, dude, I don't think this is for me. It's just I don't know what's going on. And he reeled me back in and said, no, you need to stick with this. You got a lot of potential here. You could be really great. You need to stick with this. This is your house, not boxing. So that was again, reeled me back in and got me back on level playing field.
Probably hurt you financially too, because you would have made a ton of money boxing.
Yeah, I think my career would have turned a lot quicker if I had won that one versus not.
Right. So Stonnie Davis in his corner. We talked youth wrestling. Joe Jordan is in his corner.
Yeah.
Joe Jordan's kid, I think, is ranked #1 in the entire country for high school kids, and every accolade possible you can win in high school. His kid did it, and Joe had a fantastic career as well. So he's in Stonnie Dennis's corner. That's September of 2003. You talked about needing a little downtime. January 17th, 2004, Dave Strasser had a freestyle combat challenge.
Yep.
For everybody at home, it was Pride rules.
Uh-huh.
It was Pride rules with headbutts.
Yep.
So you had Omar Choudhury.
Choudhury, yep.
Choudhury out of Puta Vida. He's one of Henry Matamoros' guys.
Yep.
So the guy's got some slick subs.
Yep. I knew he's a jiu-jitsu guy. Again, it got back to that point to where I don't care. Let's go fight this guy. Screw it. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. I just got submitted twice. I'm questioning what I'm actually doing here because I'm getting armbarred. I'm getting heel hooked. What's this guy going to do? I don't know. Let's go find out. I peppered him on the feet and enough to where he just started taking desperation shots. And my wrestling background, I front headlocked that dude. I ran my knee into the top of his head. I couldn't tell you how many times, but I know after the fight. Go ahead. Okay, so this guy shoots for a sprawl. You kind of front headlock. He's got 4 points down. Yes.
Right?
He's on hands and knees.
He's on hands and knees. Eddie hits him 15 consecutive knees to the top of the head.
Before he decides to sit guard.
But it was like,
I'm taking two of those and I'm pulling guard.
It's like I think you hit him so hard with the knee, it popped his head out from your grip and he fell into guard.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then he would fall into guard and I just stand back up. And it was a rinse and repeat. The whole fight was just rinse and repeat.
So illegal. Anywhere else in the entire world, this would have been absolutely illegal. And it made not only a more dangerous place to watch fights, but holy shit, dude, it was like watching car crashes.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that whole fight. I felt good. And as soon as they raised my hand as the winner, I was like, oh God, my knee. My knee just felt like it wanted to give out. I could hardly walk out of the ring. I was limping so bad. But the whole fight, up until that point, it was like, okay, I'm good. I'm not good.
So, I've actually got a bunch of those on DVD still. I got them in my basement somewhere. I think I actually have that fight.
Yeah. If you can get me a copy of that would be awesome.
You know what? This weekend I'll take a look at it. No, I mean it's absurd that the rules set there. And then when headbutts became illegal, Dave gave a talk in the back about how it's bullshit. Headbutts are for sure illegal, but you get 25 warnings before they take a point,
You better not do it more than 5 times.
Yeah. They had a good crew up there in Wisconsin too. Like out of all the like people that we used to kind of hang out with, the like Brian Garrity, Nick Thompson, Pat O'Malley crew, Ron Faircloth.
Yep.
All of them made appearances in the
Pat
UFC.
O'Malley.
That was
wow. I remember him. Yeah. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
One of the favorite groups of people was the Wisconsin guys.
Yep, absolutely. Red Schaefer, he was up there. Yep. I specifically, and I shouldn't get him in trouble, but I specifically remember when Keith threw the fights at Portage, when he had his fights here. We all went out to the bar afterwards, and I don't remember who it was that was drinking, but they said, "Oh, I don't want that." They got him a drink. No, I don't want that. And he set it down, and Red picked that thing up and he slammed it. Boom! Shattered the glass on the floor. So I'll drink it. Holy shit, man! It was just a wild night.
You guys also had a fighter. Oh God, what was his name? Heavy hands, black dude, arguing with his old lady on the cell phone.
That was in Portage, so I don't. He wasn't from our gym, but he fought on Keith's card.
He was from Wisconsin. He was from Wisconsin.
Like 5 or 6 cops. I'm pretty
sure
they
let the dog chew on him for a while.
Yeah.
I think he did like 2 years in jail.
Yeah. Yep. I remember.
He knocked out a couple cops. They brought the canine. Man, that dog ate well that night. Yeah. It's just different time. Well, you make a quick return. Adrian Serrano, he's got a real tough 135. Tim Panicucci, who actually everybody was kind of talking about being like a legitimate contender. And you fought him May 6, 2004. Are you getting a little nervous at this point fighting, or have you kind of settled into it?
No, I'll be honest. All the way up until my last fight, I would get nervous. Not like, but it the nerves are always there. It's just what degree, how nervous are we? It obviously it wasn't as much towards the end, because it's, I don't know if it's a dumb way of looking at it, but it's like one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to win, or I'm going to go in there and lose. Either way, let's go find out. I'm going to go try my hardest. I'm going to do what I can to take this guy's head off. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. What else are you going to do? I've done everything I can in training. I'm going to do everything I can in the fight. Either I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. So let's find out, so that kind of calmed my nerves a little bit. But I was always had some sense of nerves all the way up until they closed the cage door. Once they closed the cage door, I was like, time to work.
What's going through your head when you walk to the ring? Are you getting yourself geeked up, or are you calming yourself down?
No, I'm just trying, like you said, trying to keep calm, keep cool. I
no adrenaline dump.
Right, exactly. I don't want to get too riled up, and then it's like, okay, sleep. So, just trying to say I could never stay as cool as Keith was. I always had to get myself hyped up a little bit, but I mean, watching Keith walk out, I was like, dude, how do you do this?
Dude, he might be a serial killer. Like he
walked out. I think it was some of the songs he would walk out to. He walked out to Mighty Quinn in Florida when he fought George Santiago.
Here's the thing about Keith and his walkouts. They were very personal and important to him. Like what song played. And if the DJ screwed up or played somebody else's song, he wasn't coming out.
He wouldn't walk.
Nope. Play my song. Nope. Ain't doing it. Like it was like, I don't know, like interpretive dance, like those people that like kind of like act things out of it was almost like, no, it was just as important to him as somebody doing interpretive dance. We're talking Keith Wisniewski. He'd also have like a bag full of books that he would pick from to read.
Yep. That was how he would psych himself up, was read a book and walk out to Waylon Jennings.
Yeah. Or the Grateful Dead. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I mean, like you think like a serial killer, you think, oh no, they got to be super aggressive, they got to be crazy. No, dude, a serial killer hides all of their emotions.
They're the quiet ones. Yep.
It's Keith.
Yep. He is so very unassuming. You would look at that guy and be like, oh, dude, I'm going to roll you in 30 seconds. You want to think again. So
at this time, Keith Wisniewski, we're talking about, two-time UFC veteran. He would have like these thick, very thick glasses, and he was constantly breaking them. So he had like the Hanson brothers from Slapshot. He would like tape the center of it, and there'd be like a paper clip on the other side because he lost a screw or something. And like people go, yeah, dude, that's the toughest guy in the entire Midwest at like 170. You'd be like,
yeah.
All right. Is this like a YouTube joke before YouTube like pranks?
Are you messing with me? Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. And then they'd get all serious. Yeah. You talk to him, you're just like, this might be an honor roll student, you know?
He's another one that if you got him riled up, you really did something wrong, because you don't ruffle his feathers very easily. And for to see him get flustered, you did something wrong.
Yeah. If you missed weight and you're fighting a Duneland Vale Tudo guy,
oh yeah,
dude, that's it.
That was one of his big things. He hated it.
It's like the nuclear button just got pushed.
Yep.
You know, and he would.
Again, I don't know if that's why out of 41, 42 fights that I've got, I've never once missed weight. I don't know if it's because of that or just because this is what I'm getting paid to do. This is my job. So I take pride in my job. But I feel like that had something to do with it. It was just the way they push people to be professional and conduct themselves. And this is what you're here to do. So you need to do it.
Right. So Tim Panicucci, you knock him out with like 4 seconds left in the first round. I think there was only 2 rounds at that point. Crazy events, freestyle combat challenge. If you ever see him on eBay, highly suggest you buy those DVDs, even if you don't know anybody on it.
He would not shoot on me because he was in the crowd for the fight previous when I kneed Omar in the head.
He kept trying to jump guard.
Yeah. Yep. Every time he would shoot at, I very vaguely remember that fight, but if he shot, as soon as I stuffed it, he sat guard, like right now.
All right. But didn't you like leaping punch KO him?
I'm pretty sure it was Superman punch.
But he was on the ground though. Like you kind of like did like the Michael Bisping, Dan Henderson thing.
Man.
Did you hit like a Mack truck?
I am not positive. I know it was, I mean, he was out. It was a one hit and quit.
Right. It was, yeah, you trying to figure out that puzzle. Gotcha.
Final piece.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I'm going from memory as well. I mean, at this point, I think both of us are probably about 35 live shows a year, like every weekend. Like, I don't care about anything else. This is what we're doing. Yeah.
Yep.
That was cool. One of the people so just so people can kind of understand how competitive the Northwest Indiana, the Chicagoland region was, at one point, the first 3 WEC champions, and we're going to get there, the first 3 WEC champions were all lived within driving distance of each other. So you're looking at, in the top 10 in the world at 135 pounds, 3 were probably in the top 5 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Burchetta doesn't fall into that category, but that's your next opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy Burchetta was as tough as nails.
Dude, that was another one. This was when I was starting to gain a little bit of confidence. And I throttled Omar. I knocked this dude out. All right, let's go knock the next one out. And I remember going into that fight wanting a flying knee knockout. So that's what I was looking for. I put some blinders on and I was looking for that flying knee. I threw it and boy, I got caught. that was the beginning of the end for that fight.
So you had a really good system. Stuff a takedown and then fire back. Stuff a takedown.
Chuck Liddell. You know, the old sprawling brawl. That was my plan. My plan was sprawling brawl.
It's in Hammond, Indiana. It's a homecoming.
Yep.
You know, you hit a couple fights on the road, got your confidence back up. So the flying knee, what happened was Jimmy took your back, got a rear naked choke. Jimmy's probably got 45, 50 fights, maybe a 500 record online, but he very rarely ever fought in his weight class.
Yeah.
And man, somebody that kind of is undeserving and underappreciated.
Oh, absolutely.
Very tough guy. Very, very tough guy. He was also at a Central Illinois Combat Club. We're talking like Peru, Illinois, almost no people there. Derek Noble, was it not Kenny Stramberg, Jason, Phil Johns. They had 3 people make it to the UFC from a town of like under a couple thousand.
Yeah.
With no one else to train with.
Sure.
Kenny Robertson, that was the other one. I mean, okay. Fantastic gym as well.
Yep.
Excellent. XKK, October 23rd, 2004. You got Jeff Paul and Nick Gamst. Justin Wisniewski's in your corner. Keith Wisniewski's fighting that night. Mm-hmm. This was a hard one.
Which one was this?
Brandon Carlson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was so this was another one that, man, they told me this dude weighed 140 pounds. This was another one where we're going to weigh our fighter, you weigh your fighter. Well, you know how Keith is. You need to weigh 140 pounds. I'm going to make sure you're 140 pounds on this scale. Yeah. I was 140 pounds. Have you seen any video on that fight?
I was there.
Okay. You tell me.
So this is in Minnesota. This is Minnesota.
140 pounds.
No way.
Yeah. 140 pounds. And that dude, again, I was too fast for him. I would kick him in the leg. He would spin around. I'd hit him and I was gone. They were just too fast for him. So I started getting cocky. Okay, I'm a Roy Jones. And I do the little, the taunt. And he just reaches across it. Crack. Dude. Yep. He cracked me. I saw a white. Obviously, it didn't knock me out. I saw a white. Opened my eyes and I'm trying to close my mouth. I couldn't close my mouth. Here he comes. So I grabbed him. And I can't close my mouth. So finally I call the ref. I break grip to call the ref, and he shoulder shrugs off. Pow, comes down with a left. Broke it here and here. Completely took. I remember my right by my canine tooth on my bottom. I remember thinking I lost it first because my whole jaw was just, it was bent down. Yep. Cracked it in 2 spots all the way through.
Well, he got a broken jaw.
Yeah.
I see you wired up. But the one thing that was shocking to me at this is that you were complaining because you wanted the fight to continue.
Well,
you weren't done. You weren't done.
I didn't want to lose. At first I'm kind of shit. Okay, wait, come here. Let's check this out first. And yeah, that was it. That was it.
Broken jaw. I think your opponent was probably 165, maybe closer to 170 that night.
He was not 140. There's no way. There's no way. You no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Josh Neer cut his teeth in the XKK. Jeff Paul, Nick Gamst. I hope they help pay for your medical.
Nope. Luckily, the job that I was working at the time, I had insurance. So my insurance picked it up.
Jeff Paul and Nick Gamst. Nick refereed in the UFC. I think they both passed from opioids. Yeah, both those guys are no longer around. Yep. Yeah, crazy promotion. Had some amazing fights. Mm-hmm. Unique ways of paying fighters. That's for sure. If it happened.
If you got paid, yeah.
Joao Pitbull Herdy was a guy from Brazil doing missionary work in Brazil and came here fighting out of Indianapolis. You two were supposed to fight. You two were supposed to meet up.
Yep.
And it never took place.
Yep. On a couple occasions. Yep.
How come you two in Joao, black belt in jiu-jitsu, like to stand and bang?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a fun fight to watch.
That would have been a fun fight to be a part of, honestly. I mean, that was I think at the time 2 of the top guys in Indiana. That's essentially who's number 1 in the state fight at that point.
Yeah.
Aside from Miguel Torres, you got him. I mean, he was at that time just on a different level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was hoping to see you two fight, and you actually came back. That was October 23rd, 2004, where you got your jaw broke.
Mm-hmm.
August 6, 2005, Duneland Classic number 2, Chad Washburn, one of Ed Clay's guys.
Dude, that guy. another one that you look at him on paper, it's his first fight, and the skill set that he brought to the table was like, you're telling me you've never fought before? I mean, apparently, come to find out, I don't know if he was a silver medalist in Golden Gloves and like a Wisconsin state champ wrestler or state caliber wrestler. So you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. You mix a high caliber boxer with a high caliber wrestler. They know how to fight.
Some good ingredients.
And I hit that dude. I think I hit him with a 4 or 5 shot combination with everything I had, and he still was standing. What? How do I stop this dude? Finally, I mean, it just took enough. Finally, that one had to find that button. But yeah, I throttled him with probably a 4 or 5 punch combo, and it was like keep punching, I guess.
Yeah, it's got to be an emptying feeling in your stomach. Like normally they go down at this point because you got that one punch knockout power that very, very few people possess.
Yeah.
People think they have it, but no, they don't.
Until you actually prove it and show it. Yeah.
Yeah, you actually have it. And a little side note, Ed Clay, he's the guy that does like the Ibogaine treatments in Tijuana. Joe Rogan always gives him plugs.
Sure.
He was there cornering him. So that was kind of our first experience with the Nashville scene. So you kind of got a little taste. I thought that I believe the thought was that they were going to come in and upset the hometown guy, and they were just like,
oh, absolutely. And you know, I thought I was going to walk through the dude, you know, and like I said, until the fight was over and you start realizing, okay, well, no, he's state caliber wrestler and silver gloves or golden gloves, silver medalist, whatever, you know, I don't know exactly what he did, but this is things that I'm being told. And it's like, well, all right, I guess that explains why that fight was that tough.
Yeah, you know, there was a good one for sure.
Yeah.
You walk through Steve Halleck with a KO, Josh Hostman right after that. You're 1-2, and then you got Christian Nielsen. He's an Ohio journeyman. Like you're racking up the wins right now. And Justin Ham right after that, and then you're back with Tim Norman.
Yep.
At the Total Fight Challenge.
Yep. That was another one. That was a strange one for me because this was before there wasn't videos. There wasn't pictures. There wasn't profiles on all these fighters. So
it was MySpace.
Exactly. So I hear the name Tim Norman. Like, oh, okay, I fight a guy, Tim Norman. I don't know. He's maybe some hillbilly, some farmer. I don't know. I show up. The dude looks like a Kung Lee clone. Looks just
Huge.
like Kung Lee. His legs are as big around as my waist. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, okay, Tim Norman. Huh? Your name's Tim Norman. All right. Well, we get out there and this dude starts throwing. He didn't throw a single punch the whole fight.
Oh, kicks.
The kicks he threw. I mean, I don't know if he trained with Kung Lee or what the deal was, but dude, if you watch that fight, I mean, the kicks he was throwing, I was like, all right, I got to get okay. I got to time one of these. So I finally timed one of them, took him down. I don't know if we went out or what the deal was, but the ref stood us back up.
He would roll underneath the ropes in order to stand up. That's what he would do. And then
I got to time another one. Had to time another one. Had to take him down and beat him up. You know, and I specifically remember after the fight, he was talking to somebody on the phone. He said, "Yeah, you know, they gave me a guy that they said was going to stand and trade with me, and I got no problem standing and trading. But you're throwing these wild, flashy kicks, man. I'm out of here." So he said, whoever's on the phone, he said, "Yeah, they said he was going to stand and trade with me, and it'd be a good stand-up fight. But he just took me down and beat me up."
Yeah, you're not trying to be on the end of a highlight reel knockout.
No, wheel kicks and just all kinds of spinning jump stuff. Like, I'm out of here. We're getting you to the ground, and we're getting out of here as fast as I can.
Right. Duneland Classic 3. Keith Wisniewski's the matchmaker. He brings in a Golden Glove boxer from Wisconsin. Your second, Kurt D-Ron. You won by KO in the second round. It was
remember that one.
March 25th, 2006.
I don't remember that one.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Maybe he's the one. Where is he from?
He's the Wisconsin guy, but Ed Clay's from Nashville. I think there was a Wisconsin tie on both of those guys, actually.
I think the D-Ron, though, the D-Ron, because the Washburn, I think I choked him with a standing guillotine. There we go. Okay. I choked Washburn with a standing guillotine. I think the Kurt Deeren, that makes sense. Kurt Deeren, he was the state caliber wrestler and Golden Gloves boxer. That's the guy I was talking about, not the Chad Washburn.
You start training with Miguel Torres right after this.
Yeah.
What's it like walking into his gym? At this time,
he was open arms, because I had asked him about maybe stepping in the corner, or I don't exactly remember how the conversation got started, but basically he opened his doors. Hey, if you ever want any help, come in. And I think he saw it as an opportunity for him. Here's an up and coming guy in Indiana. He's real close, probably a good training partner for me. We could be good training partners for each other. So, it was kind of an open door thing, and he was very welcoming.
So right around this time, Chris Lytle is actually fighting in the WEC, and his boxing coach, Keith Palmer, gives me a call, and he goes, dude, they're thinking about starting a 135-pound belt in a WEC. Give me a breakdown of like Miguel Torres. So I just said, he said specifically, they want the belt to stay in California.
Yep.
They don't want it to leave. So I said, okay, well, you've got three choices. Miguel Torres, arguably best in the world at 135. Him and Kid Yamamoto never fought. Kid's got a big backing. Miguel does too. Unfortunately, they never came together. I said there's Chase Beebe, who is a multiple-time state champion wrestler. I watched him hit the pads the other day. Man, the guy throws thunder. And there's Eddie Wineland. He's got some issues with wrestling when it gets to the ground, but he also has got some monster punches. Keith goes, well, who do you think is the weakest of the three? And I said, dude, I don't think there's a weak link between them. But if you want to pitch somebody with some blemishes on their records, you got to go Wineland. So they pull you in for the inaugural world title fight, WEC 20, May 5th, 2006, against Antonio Banuelos, who trains with Chuck Liddell. Very kind of storied in the California circuit as somebody that is, very arrogant, number one in the world. At this time, for us being in the Midwest, that's how we perceive it. Yep. What's it like flying out to California?
So that was, you obviously you heard it from the horse's mouth, but that was the story that I was told also. I was brought in to lose that fight.
Oh, yes.
That was the story that I was relayed, was that I was brought in to lose that fight, but it's going to be competitive. So that wasn't a give me for Antonio, but he's going to be the belt holder. And boy, I'm fighting a Mexican on Cinco de Mayo in California, 20 miles from his hometown. So
there's nothing that could go wrong here.
Right. Who's supposed to win this fight? Who's supposed to win this fight? So walking in there.
Wait. At an Indian reservation.
An Indian reservation.
With no commission.
Exactly. So
go ahead. It's gotta be fair.
They're announcing my name, and everybody's just kind of this dude comes out and it's fucking top blows off the whole place. All right, cool, whatever, let's do this. And I specifically remember, you're talking, because we're still small circuit. We're from Indiana, it's all small circuit. Phil Baroni, I remember, if you go back and watch that, he goes, yeah,
he's the announcer.
Indiana, the hotbed for MMA. Well,
busting your chops.
Right. It's like, well, like you corn-fed hillbilly stuff here. You guys are over here painting your nails and frosting your tips and doing this stuff. I'm over there eating good whole grains and getting stronger. So yeah, I'm not going to be brought in to lose. That's not my game plan. My game plan isn't coming in here to be just a pawn in your game. I watched some tape on the guy. I knew he was tough. I was nervous going into the fight. It's like, This guy's tough. But I always, for some reason, wanted to go to California and fight. I didn't realize what the WEC was. I didn't know what it was. I just knew, okay, we're fighting for a belt again. Cool. But I get to go to California. I've always wanted to go to California and fight. Again, for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't want to go to California anymore. California can have it. It's not for me.
And this is your first plane ride for a fight.
Yeah. Yep.
Super important. So one of the benchmarks, super important.
Yep. So yeah, we're gonna fly you out there. We're gonna pay for your hotel. Where it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is cool. No money out of my pocket. Free trip to California. I'll take it. And I remember dropping in with a right hand and bringing that right hand back and throwing that kick and just, Herb Dean, I'm pretty sure when he jumped, he kind of rolled, grabbed me by the shoulders and kind of slingshotted me off of him. And when I had gotten home, still, world title, world champion, which, okay, every small show at the time was calling their belt, oh, this is the world championship.
This is a Midwest world championship.
Right. Right. So this guy's like, oh yeah, WEC world champions. Big deal, man. Okay, I want a belt. I just wanted to go.
You're the Midwest champion of the world, Eddie. Congratulations.
Right. Exactly. So I get home and I pull up Sherdog and shit. My picture right there, big front page, Sherdog, Eddie Wineland, WEC Bantam champ, blah, blah, blah. Huh. Is this like a real thing? Did I really do something good here? Or am I a real world champion, or is this just a fallacy,
Okay. So for everybody at home, you guys, if you listen to our podcast, you got Fight Pass. Look this fight up. Banuelos throws a kick. You slip it and counter with a heavy right at the exact same time. Yep. It was almost as if you were expecting it. I don't know if you saw video on him, but
my timing was on. I still to this day, I try to, as much as I can, step in on the kicks and meet him with a hard right hand.
Bro, you changed his world. And then like you landed a head kick.
Yeah,
as he was falling.
Yeah.
So many instances, walk-off KOs. Walk-off KOs are very impressive, but when you knock somebody out and on their way down, you connect again, you have adjusted like the trajectory of where you're throwing and understanding where they're going to be. Man, that's like juggling 30 balls at the same time, man. It's super impressive, and very few people in the world can do that, even at the highest levels.
Yeah. Yep. And it was, at that point, I had been training and fighting so much and so busy that, it was all just, everything was firing on all cylinders that night. Everything fell together. Everything was on point. Everything was just a reaction. It wasn't, that's why I try to tell these kids that I'm coaching wrestling. Some of these kids have only been in the room since October of last year, but it's like every practice we do spin drills, we do takedowns, we do sprawls, we do chops, we do cradles, we do halves. Every single practice is almost the same, but there's a reason for it, because it's muscle memory, and you're not going to learn muscle memory in 3 weeks of practice. We practice three days a week. So in 9 practices, you're not going to learn this. So we do it over and over and over and over again. So one day you're just standing there and somebody takes a shot on you and you sprawl cross face, hit them with a far side cradle. It's like, I didn't even think about that. I just did it, and that's when things were really starting to come together for me, because I was training every day, 2 times a day. I was fighting every month, and everything was on all cylinders.
So they were so positive that you weren't going to win that fight that you signed a 1-fight contract.
Yeah.
And after that 1-fight contract, of which you won, in 2007, in February 10th, Total Fight Challenge, you fight Dan Swift. So you're a world champion, and like a legitimate, like WEC is where it's at. And do you still have that belt?
Yeah, I do. But I hate to say it, but it's such a piece of shit belt.
It's horrible.
It is. It's got rhinestones. Even when they gave it to me, it had rhinestones that had WEC hot glued onto it, and half of the rhinestones were missing. I don't know if that was like the backup belt in case Antonio lost. So if he won, he gets the pretty belt. But hey, this guy won, so let's give him this garbage.
So it's your traditional ringside belts that, like, garbage promoters today, if they're still using them, they pay $80 from the friggin' horrible belts, and they just glued rhinestones on it. And
literally,
you got one.
Yep.
Alex Stiebling, Shoney Carter, a lot of the first WEC champions, the three that I just named, all had that garbage.
Okay, so I wasn't the only one that got that.
No.
Okay.
Well, it's all Midwest guys I'm naming, so I'm sure they weren't supposed to win either.
Right. So
you fight Dan Swift, who very tough journeyman. He's made the news. If you look him up, definitely you don't want to live next to the guy.
Uh-oh.
And then you win a decision, and in February they signed you to a 6-fight WEC deal.
Mm-hmm.
So they lock you down. Like, you're never going to fight locally, not under this contract.
Yeah.
Talk about the negotiations.
Dude, I didn't know anything about it. Like I said, it was, I started fighting because I just, once Justin cracked me in the face and I started bleeding like a stuffed pig, I was like, man, I love this. I just wanted to fight. I just wanted to get in there. I wanted to get rough. I wanted to get rowdy. It was as much fun as I could have without going to jail, you know? So I never really planned on making a career, making a living, because at that point, there was no high level 135. So we were kind of paving the way for the high level 135ers, you know, for the UFC, for the WEC, for the high paid 135-pound fighters. We opened that door. So for me, it was like, you're going to pay me a lot more than I'm getting paid in Hammond, but I also get to fly the country. So cool. I'll take whatever you're going to give me.
It's on TV too. You get to watch.
Yeah. Exactly. There's a lot of exposure. I mean, everybody knows with exposure comes money. And again, at this point, and I'll be 100% honest, I feel like I had more fun fighting at the Hammond Civic Center than when it became a career, because now it's a job. You know, it's a job, and not that I didn't love to fight. I love to fight. I still love to roughhouse and get rowdy and wrestle. But when I was fighting in front of my friends and family, and everybody was there, and I was like, this is just a good old time, and they give you $600 out the door you go. I was like, God, this is awesome. You know, but then you turn it into a job, and it just gets old, and over time, that's the whole thing from stepping away from it. It's not fun anymore. You know, you look at myself, Cowboy, even he said it. It's not fun to me anymore. When you have to be there, it's not fun. I go to the gym now and I have all the fun in the world because I don't have to be there if I don't want to be there. I'm there because I want to be there. Before, if I wasn't there, there's consequences. There's a guy that's going to try and take my head off. You know, now, as long as I can still throw a decent punch and know how to take somebody down, I'm gonna handle my business just fine on the streets.
Absolutely. March 24, 2007, your first defense, WEC 26. They fly in the other person, Chase Beebe, that lives about 30, 40 minutes from you driving.
So we could have done this in Chicago, guys.
We could have done this in Chicago. So we got a 4-time state champion in high school.
Yep.
He's 9-1. I'm going to get the coach from Eastern Illinois on here one day. If you look at like the Eastern Illinois wrestling lineup before it got disbanded, like Matt Hughes, Mike Russo, Chase Beebe, like he had a certain like wrestler that he was looking for, and over a dozen went on to fight in the UFC.
Yeah. Yep.
So he's part of that whole crew. And you had Miguel Torres in your corner.
Yeah.
Talk about the preparation going into this, a huge fight.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I was confident in my wrestling. You know, I knew he was probably, well, not probably, I knew he was a better wrestler than I was. But again, I was confident in my hands. I was confident in my takedown defense, which my takedown defense was really good in that fight. He got me, I think, just a couple of times. I don't remember if it was the first round or the second round where I hit him with a 3-2 or a 2-3 and just throttled him, like put him on his ass. First round, put him flat on his ass. And as I followed up, I missed with that right hand. I mean, that was the closing door, and I missed with it. And that dude was tough as nails. I mean, wrestler mentality. It was okay. I just got my bell rung. Now I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna turn around and see if I can turn it up. So,
did you have an adrenaline dump after that moment?
I don't think so. I think what happened was it was in the second round. Was it in the second or the third round? Because it was 17 and a half minutes, if I remember right. I'm not good at math, but 17 and a half minutes, he blew my ear up.
With an elbow.
If you go back and you actually have tape on that, if you slow it down, I believe you can see the blood from my ear go all the way across the cage.
I think a chunk of your ear came off. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was flapping. I could feel my ear flapping. I'd shake my head and I could feel my ear felt like I was Dumbo. I said, what is going on here? And oh yeah, that's a lot of blood. My cup that was white, I had so much blood running down that my cup was completely red. There was not a white spot left on my cup from all the blood that ran down my chest. And that was, it was. He had me mounted. I think one round for 2.5, 3 minutes. It was something stupid. I mean, didn't other than blowing my ear up, never had me dazed, never had me wobble, couldn't finish me. Just blowing my ear up was
it your equilibrium? Was it like your eardrum, or was it cauliflower?
It was cauliflower, and my own stupidity for not draining it before the fight. I had some fresh cauliflower. I should have drained it. It was blowed up. But after that fight, I had a bout with vertigo, and I couldn't figure out if it was directly related to cauliflower, something internal in my ear. I mean, 8 months later, it went away. I'd lay down and I'd get dizzy. I'd stand up and I'd get dizzy. So.
Yeah, you took a long time off after that fight. And I think it was due by in part, you got in the Fire Academy.
Partially. Yep.
You took the Chris Lato route.
2008, February of 2008, I got hired onto the City of LaPorte Fire Department.
Hired to go through the academy, or hired because you went through the academy?
So I got hired to go through the academy. So I was on duty for a few months before I went to the academy. So we went to the academy that summer. So I was actually on duty at the fire department prior to going to an academy, basically in-house training.
Okay. So February 19, 2008, Total Fight Challenge 11, you got Jason Tabor.
Yep.
Two-time state champion Indiana wrestler, former teammate as well.
Yep.
Was this before the academy or after?
This was before the academy. This was just after I had hired onto the fire department.
So you're starting the academy within a few weeks.
I was starting the academy. So it was a 22-week academy, and I believe we graduated in July or August. So shit, I may have been going to the academy. I'm not good at math.
I can't believe you even fought.
It's that was one. I think that was. I liked Jason, trained with Jason, but after Jason left Duneland, I think Jason was a different Jason, and that was a special fight for Keith, because Keith and Jason and Justin had all had words prior to that, and Keith was pretty excited for that fight, and Joe Goitia himself. So we were supposed to weigh in at the Hammond Civic Center, or it was it the Civic Center, or was it at that restaurant? There's a restaurant on 41. I forget where they were doing where the weigh-ins at, but maybe the official weigh-in was at the Civic Center, and Tabor was like an hour or two late. I had already weighed in, started drinking Gatorade, was getting back hydrated and replenished, and he showed up. Well, we're not taking the fight unless we see him weigh in. Well, dude, weigh-ins were an hour ago. I've already weighed in and I've started drinking already. So you're not going to take the fight or what? So they're throwing a big stink about it and this and that. And he pissed Joe Goitia off so much. He said, listen, You knock this motherfucker out, I'm giving you an extra $300. All right, cool. So we went and knocked him out.
So Jason left with Kevin English. They started their own team, and Jason, like he it's really hard to find things. Like, go ahead and look your hardest. Go find something bad to say about the Wisniewskis.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, they handle themselves a certain way. You know what you're getting. And as long as you're righteous, everything is going to be okay. Like, if I had to leave for a while and have some cash, Keith is on that short list to hold on to it.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. You and me both.
That's
when Keith, when I told Keith that we were getting this fight, boy, I saw his eyeballs light up. And he was like, I'm fairly certain there was a couple of times where he almost went and fought Jason himself. And to piss Keith off that bad, you did something wrong.
You sold a shitload of tickets. So did he.
Yeah.
You guys probably had about 600 people specifically there just to see you two.
Sure.
Yeah, that house was rocking, bro.
Absolutely.
That's fights like that make the Hammond Civic Center a legendary place to watch mixed martial arts.
Absolutely. And I think, again, that's why the Hammond, I won't say I had more fun, because obviously WEC and UFC was obviously, dude, that's it. But I think that's why Hammond was so much fun, because of the local atmosphere and just how loud it would get inside there. And the entire crowd that's screaming your name, and it's a pretty amazing feeling.
Well, it's a fight town. It's a fight area. Northwest Indiana. It's 20 minutes from downtown Chicago. At this time, Illinois wasn't doing mixed martial arts because it was illegal. So everyone would go to Hammond. And like Miguel Torres, like, people look at his record and say, well, 90% of his records were, in Indiana at the same spot. But the reality of the situation is he's making about $12,000 to $15,000 every single time he fights, just in ticket sales.
Right. Oh yeah, that the Hammond Civic Center, when Miguel Torres would fight, dude, there was not a seat to be had, and 95% of those people were there because he sold them tickets. Yeah. He was like dealing drugs. Like, it was just selling tickets. Like, it was the local following that dude had was just, I mean, it's unrivaled, honestly. I don't think there's anybody in the area that had the draw that he did.
No, and like, I'm not going to call it arrogance, because it wouldn't be that, but his confidence in regards to his abilities. Yeah. Like, he believed it. He had the championship mindset. He had it.
His Ackerman fights. Watch his Ackerman fights.
Ryan Ackerman.
His confidence off of his back. He literally outboxed Ackerman off of his back. He outboxed him off of his back and won the fight off of his back.
So Carlson Gracie Jr. or Carlson Gracie Sr. made an announcement stating that the greatest 135er in the world is Miguel Torres, and literally was taunting his own country, saying that this guy would just clean up that entire his own country. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, he wasn't wrong.
No,
he wasn't wrong.
No. You go from Jason Tabor, you beat Wade Choate. Ray Flores was the matchmaker there. Yeah. Jeff Coran actually called out Miguel Torres at that event.
Sure. Yep.
Surprised those two never met. I got a lot of respect for Jeff, Miguel as well. I thought they would have been a great fight. 2009 of February, Jared McMahan beats Brad Fonick at the Civic Center and calls you out.
Mm-hmm. There was a couple. I think he called me out. Elton Chavez, he called me out. Boy, there was a handful of them. I saw Elton at a wrestling tournament 2 weeks ago. We talk all the time on Facebook. All the time we're chatting back and forth, and I like Elton. Elton's a good dude. And then I've trained with Jared a handful of times when he was going to Cologne's there for a little bit. So he would kind of pop his head in there, and I would roll around with him a little bit.
Elton Chavez got about 40 fights. I remember like seeing Elton at local events, saying, "Man, you're calling out all these guys, dude, but you're doing it in a way where it's it's funny, but it's also kind of rude. And he would just like laugh and he'd go, "Oh, wait a minute, bro. I'm not from here. How am I supposed to get these fights? Like I'm actually like really trying to fight these guys, you know?" And I'm like,
yeah,
okay. You know, like he got it before, you know, a lot of us, that's for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he wasn't afraid to call it.
But he wanted it, you know. So
Yeah,
no, I really want to fight these guys. Where
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm not saying it just to say it. I'm saying it because I want to fight them.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm not lining up to get punched in the head by Eddie Wineland, but man, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, those were two fights that never happened.
Right. So they bring you up to WEC 40, April 5th, 2009. Rani Yahya.
Yep.
And I think your house got struck by a tornado right around this time as well. I think it was actually shortly after that.
When it was, but yeah, my the townhouse I was living in at the time, there was tornado warnings and this and that. And I remember had like it was a 2-story, but the bottom level was about 3 feet underground. And I remember looking out my picture window and watching a tree, literally a tree, go past the front. Oh, I better go find cover. And then I hear a sounds like, again, like a tree's falling. And I see some insulation blow down my stairway. Everything kind of calms down, and I walk over to the stairwell and I look up and I'm looking at daylight, rip the roof right off the house. So that was pretty interesting, pretty wild to say the least.
Yeah. No, I remember watching you on the news and I'm like, wait a minute.
Hold on a minute here.
Yeah. So Rani Yahya, you lose by rear naked choke. They bring you back right after that to fight a 10-2 Manny Tapia.
Yep. That was a fun one.
Tapia was not easy.
That was a fun one. I don't know. I don't know what changed between the Yahya fight and the Tapia fight. I don't know if it was I felt like a cornered dog, or my back was against the wall, or this is a do or die fight for me, or I don't know. Just flipped a switch and controlled that fight from start to finish. You know, that was my hands found a home every time they needed to, and his didn't.
Yeah, no, Tapia, you definitely made a statement there, and it was kind of like you let everyone know, keep some respect on your name.
Well, and again, I don't know what changed, but I think that's when a lot of my erratic movements, my side to side, my in and outs, my angles, I think that's when I started figuring all of that out. I mean, I moved okay. I moved side to side before, but I started, I don't remember when I started with Bob and Mark at New Breed. It might have been right around then. I don't remember if it was that one or the next one.
It was the next one. It was George Roop where Mark
was. It was Roop. Yes, it was Roop, because I remember working with Bob, and Bob was the exact same height as George Roop. So I remember boxing with Bob a lot.
So Tapia, you win a decision. He's out of Millennium Jiu-Jitsu. He's actually got 2 losses in a row, which on the risk of being cut, which makes him incredibly dangerous. Like they're the most dangerous people you can fight are the ones on the verge of getting cut.
Yep.
6'1" George Roop. They line you up with him next. WC 60 or 46. He's 10-6, but like the 6 losses were kind of in the beginning and a lot of times out of his weight class. He is sponsored by Muscle Farm, sponsored by Hooters. Everyone is kind of championing him based on his size and output as like somebody in the world rankings.
Sure.
What happened there?
So again, this is, and Mark and Bob, they couldn't have came along at a better time, because I'm fighting a guy that's 6'1", 6'2" at 135 pounds. Where do you find sparring partners? Where do you find sparring partners that aren't 200 plus pounds? You know, so Bob, like I said, he was perfect build. He wasn't 135 pounds. I mean,
what's Bob's last name? Do you remember?
Bob Hemrich.
It's the bald guy, right?
Yep. So, I mean, he was Golden Gloves boxing, and had a real good understanding of boxing, and we started working all these angles. And listen, you need to get in and out. You need to be able to get in and work, and you got a long way to get out before he can't touch you again. So we just started throwing a lot of angles in and a lot of in and outs and a lot of feints, getting them to bite and then going and then getting out. It was just, he was a perfect mirror for me to look at when I'm going to fight George Roop. And that's exactly what happened in the fight. I was in and out. I would touch him and I would get out. I remember he tagged me with a jab right quick. And I remember thinking, boy, he's got a lot of snap because he's so long. There's a lot of torque on the end of that punch. That jab was kind of like, if he hits me with a good hard right, it might send me for a ride. So I really got to move. So I remember just moving. I remember after the fight, he came up to me, he goes, man, I thought about trying to take you down, but I couldn't find you. And that's just kind of, I think that's where everything started working together. Was we're going to move this way, we're going to move that way, we're going to be in, we're going to be out, we're going to throw it, and just all those kind of crazy angles. As everybody said, well, how do you do that? I don't know, because I don't know what I'm doing. I literally, I can't teach somebody to move like me because I don't know how to move like me. It's all just movement and motion and reaction, and there's no set patterns. I don't have footwork patterns. I don't have footwork drills that I do. It's just get in there and mix it up, and I move off of your movement.
Okay, so let me kind of add to this. So oftentimes when people have kind of just different movements, you can kind of see a pattern where their head or body will be in one spot consistently. Mm-hmm. You don't fall into that category. Never.
There is zero pattern there. Like I said, I can't tell you where I'm going because I don't know where they're going. Once I figure out where they're going or what they're doing, I know what I'm doing.
You're a counterpuncher.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going off of reaction. I'm going to react. I'm going to get you to move. I'm going to get you to bite. If I can get in and get out and get you to bite and come in, I can set my feet and cut an angle. There it is.
All right. So whenever you're fighting somebody that tall, like the absolute worst position you can be at in the fight is the mid-range. Because at mid-range, you're going to get murdered. So you're all the way up or all the way back. And Conan Silvera, when we interviewed him, he talked about a symphony and about how everything has to play. Sometimes it's the drums, sometimes it's the violins. Dude, you cracked him up.
Oh yeah, there was a few times I hit him. If you go back and watch the tape, a few times I hit him with an overhand and with a straight that his leg went completely stiff and straight, and he kind of, whoa, wait a minute, almost fell down. It looked like a baby giraffe walking around.
Well, they fly you up to Canada, WC 49, June 20th, 2010. Will Campuzano, he's 7-1. Mm-hmm. He's incredibly durable, mm-hmm. and wanted to stand, and you obliged.
Yep. That was another one. Again, I was nervous on that one. I was like, okay, I don't know if my
Campuzano's legit.
Absolutely. I didn't know. I was worried about my gas tank. I'd never had an issue before, but I specifically remember watching his Ox Wheeler fight. And that dude just blitzed Ox Wheeler for 15 minutes. I mean, 15 minutes. I would hate to guess how many punches he threw, how many strikes he threw in those 15 minutes. I mean, it was from 0 to 15, just pop, 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 nonstop. So, okay, how am I going to deal with this? Well, I trained my ass off, and I pressured. I pressured like I always do. I keep the pressure on. I keep moving forward. I had him drained in 5 minutes. He said he almost didn't come off of the stool for the second round. He was that tired because I had him drained.
All right. You fought in Canada, and you had a huge pop there in the audience when they announced your name.
Yeah. I don't know if it's... I'm just a likable person, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to.
You shook some hands. You shook some hands out there.
I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything, because that's the furthest from what I am. But like I try to oblige people. I try to be approachable. I try to be a nice guy. I try to be the person that I would expect somebody else to be. So I don't know if I'm just a likable person. I'm just a nice guy. I'm easy to talk to. I can relate. I don't know. I put my pants on one leg at a time. Sometimes I feel froggy and try and jump too, but I usually end up on my face. So, I'm just a normal person.
So you got the knockout of the night. Will Campuzano was incredibly durable. He fired back when most would have folded. Like right when he was at his most dangerous, right when he was, you would think was about to fall, he would fire back really hard. Super dangerous opponent.
I think a lot of the shots that he threw back at me were out of desperation. He didn't really know I was there, if I was there or not. He just threw.
They had some heat
I gotta
on
get
him.
this guy off of me.
They had some heat on him though, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They were coming overhand. They were coming from left field. That's for sure.
All right, and we're wrapping up. December 16th, 2010, WEC 30. Ken Stone, he's a high school wrestling coach, strictly did grappling tournaments for about a decade. He's a legend from the New England circuit. He's 9-1, Southpaw, American top team.
Yep. He, again, I knew he was good on the ground. So that was where I didn't want to go. So of course he jumps guard and pulls guillotine, and I'm not going to go to the ground with him because that's not where I want to be right now. I would rather touch him up on the feet. And then if we go to the ground, okay, at least I've got my shots in. You're a little tore up, but, yeah, he jumped guard, put a body triangle on me, real long, skinny legs, put a body triangle on me. I remember he attempted the guillotine. So I think I turned 180 degrees looking for my corner, found my corner, walked him over to my corner, and just kind of leaned on him there. So I kind of made him hold his own weight up rather than having to hold him up myself. And as soon as I broke that grip on his guillotine, I grabbed on the leg so he couldn't jump off. And I heard Mark yell, "Slam him." Boom, down we went. And it was, honestly, that one was scary for me. I thought I may have killed him, or he was seriously hurt, because that dude didn't move until he was in the ambulance. They took him out on a stretcher and he did not move. They had to pick him up on a backboard onto the stretcher out of the arena. That was kind of scary.
Yeah, they're announcing you, raising your hand, interviewing you. He's still in the background receiving medical attention.
Yep.
Yeah, last time he fought as well.
Yep, that was I'm not there to hurt anybody. We're there for competition. So even afterwards, like, "Hey man, you got the knockout of the night, you got the boneless, blah 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 blah." Okay, cool, but how's he? What how? And then finally it was, "Oh yeah, he's awake, he's good." Like, sweet, I got money.
Yeah. That's
so
good,
but it's yeah, it's not about hurting people, it's about competing. And that worried me.
Did you guys ever communicate after this?
Not that I recall. I don't think so. It's
a life-changing moment for him.
What's that?
It's a life-changing moment for him.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Have you spoke with him?
No, but I watched it, and you don't go through something like that, like your friends and loved ones seeing that.
Absolutely.
Like, something like that happens, like there's like an intervention that takes place.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mark Vives, we brought up his name. How do you hook up with him? Mark Vives from New Breed Jiu-Jitsu, legend within the Jiu-Jitsu circuit here in the Chicagoland area.
Yep. So Nick Mitria, he owned a t-shirt company called Subculture.
Still does.
Is it still Subculture?
No, it's changed. It's Jiu-Jitsu Tees. Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu Tees, okay. Because I know it was just Roll for a while, and then Jiu-Jitsu Tees, but they sponsored me for one of my Hammond fights, and it might have been the Wade Choate fight. I'm not positive. I don't remember which one it was. It was one of my last Hammond fights, or maybe which was my last Hammond fight.
It would Wade Choate. Yeah.
Was it Choate? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. Yes.
Okay. So they sponsored me for that fight, and he had made mention about his guy up in Chicago. He's a jiu-jitsu guy, blah, blah, blah. They got a lot of good smaller guys up there, come check it out if you want. So I went up there and kind of the same thing, you know, we clicked. I mean, right from day one, it was okay. I feel at home here. And
brilliant guy, brilliant mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really smart. Really nice guy. Again, do anything for you. You know, his doors were open. Everything was open. Yeah, if you need to come stay in the gym, you can live here. But Mark, I got to work. I can't live in the gym. I got to go to work too. So, but I mean, it would offer you the shirt off of his back. You know, so that was another one. I was extremely grateful for that one. It wasn't just a coach, and he told me that all along. He said, "Listen, him and Bob both. You know, we're going to coach you, but before that, we're friends. You know, we're friends before we're coaches." And it was always the best interest for me, rather than okay, well, how can we get our name out there? How can we better this? How can we better? You know, it was always the best interest of me and making sure that everything was right. So, you know, like I said, they both stood up in my wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, they're good dudes.
I think his demeanor also would kind of lend it to the Duneland style, like the character that's at Duneland as well.
Yes.
No, I can see that. Brilliant mind, and his daughter is doing really well in the jiu-jitsu circuit as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it. Before the UFC, you go on to fight Uriah Faber as your baptism by fire into the UFC. But why don't we talk about a couple of your training partners, just so everybody can kind of understand how special Duneland was. We'll start with Darren Elkins, someone that's still under contract with the UFC.
Yep, that dude, training with that guy is like, boy, put your big boy pants on, because you're getting some work that day. That guy, you'll swear you've got him. He's tired. I got you where I want you. He is snorting and snotting and breathing but going 100 miles an hour. There's one speed on him. There is one speed, and it doesn't matter how tired he is. It's still 100%. That dude, I don't know if you can outwork him. I don't know if it's possible. I don't think it's possible. That dude is just a freaking freight train of cardio.
He's really made a name for himself at the Team Alpha Male. Have you ever thought about going out there and working out with those guys?
I haven't. I'm homebody. I've got about a 20-mile radius here that I don't like to stray from. And I hardly even like going into the next town over. I like being home. I like being by family. I like, everything I need is here. You know, it would be nice to go out there and get a few different looks, but I enjoy being home with my family.
I respect that a lot. What about Matt Vaughn?
Yes, Matt Vaughn. He was a lot of fun. He was a lot of fun. I mean, he was built identical to Uriah. That dude was just sawed off and about as wide as he was tall, but muscle. And he was another one. He was just as strong as a shit house, and he was a good training partner.
Ultimate Fighter veteran Joshua Shockley.
Yep. That dude, I remember when he first came into the gym, he was a young kid and used to just mop the mat
like a child. Look like a child.
I think he was like 14 or something. He was 14 or 15 years old. I don't know. But he would come in and we would just throw him around, and but he came back the next day and we'd throw him around. He'd come back the next day and we'd throw him around, and then he'd come back the next day and he'd throw us around. Oh, wait a minute here. Tables have turned here. It just that consistency, that consistency again, back to the whole coaching and training, and consistency is key here. You're not going to get it in 9 practices, maybe in 9 years of practice, but not in 9 practices. It's just repetitive. Keep going. Don't stop. And the more you do it and the more often you're there, the better you get. And he, I remember him coming in. I mean, he was a boy when he came in, and then became a man, put on some man size, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're a little too big for me to train with anymore. I mean, he was a 155 pounder walking at like 190 sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Made the UFC at 155, fought twice. The Ultimate Fighter, I think it was season, well, I'm not sure what season it was. He was a contestant, John Kolosci.
Kolosci, yep. I still talk to John. His boy, I was actually coaching his boy in wrestling there for a little bit, and then he decided he didn't want to stick with it this year. And he actually just sent Keith and I a video about how they were doing downstairs in the basement doing push-ups. So they're still training. That's what John said. Even though I can't get him to come in there and wrestle, he still talks about you guys. Well, doors open.
How old is he? How old is his kid?
I think he's Jack's age. I think he's around 7 or 8.
Wow, good for him. Good for him. Mark Burch, he actually got a UFC contract. I think there was like an age restriction. I know there was a little issue with that, but Mark, first go ahead.
That dude, I mean, Mr. Clean. He looked like Mr. Clean, but 300 pounds. And talk about hitting like a freight train. That guy hit and kicked. Just he was another, I believe he was Golden Gloves boxing. I know he had boxing background. You didn't want to get hit by him. That's for damn sure.
No, heavyweight. Mark, I mean, he'll freely admit it, did a little time in jail, was a little left of center, came out because he liked to fight in jail, found Duneland, and it absolutely changed his life.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a guy that'll talk about, like, the social construct of Germany as compared to ours or Russia. And it's like, I remember talking to him, I go, Mark, when you were sitting in that little jail cell, did you ever think that you'd be able to have these conversations because you went to those countries? And he's like, nah, man. Like, it's just, it really changes life. I got a ton of respect for him.
Sure.
A ton.
Yeah. Yep.
Kyle Riley.
Yep. Yeah. I grew up with them. I actually, Blake, his brother, Blake, I grew up riding bikes with them. So I started riding bicycles with them when we were about 15. And Blake, again, his brother, stood up in my wedding also. And I'm actually coaching his boy. He's on our wrestling team too. But Kyle was, man, he was a scrapper. That kid, he just liked to scrap. Again, just let's throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. And a lot of it stuck.
Yep. Brian Fielder.
Yep. He was Keith called him the hostile Pentecostal.
Yeah, he was a Pentecostal, very religious.
Hostile Pentecostal. Yep. I don't know what the Fielders are doing now. I always remember it's super nice guy, super soft spoken. Again, another unassumingly tough dude.
Yeah, and we'll close with Stonnie Wisniewski, no related to Justin or Keith. We got them earlier. Let's close with Tony.
Well, his brother Carl also. His brother Carl.
Yes.
Also Carl and Tony. Yeah, them two, between Keith and Justin and Tony and Carl, those are some of the best rounds I've ever seen in a gym. Because brother versus brother, we're not doing training rounds anymore. We're trying to beat each other up. I mean, there was times, I remember, because Carl's on the fire department. Carl's the reason I'm on the fire department, because he said, hey, why don't you come try it out, see if you make it. Okay. So yeah, Carl's been on the department 2 years longer than I have. But he would tell me there was times they would ride home. It's like a half hour, 40-minute car ride home. They would ride home and wouldn't say a word to each other just because they were so pissed. They would try to just beat the shit out of each other. It's just like watching two girls that they think, oh, okay, well, we can wrestle like the boys, and but it always turns into a girl fight. It always turns into a cat fight because one gets the upper hand, and okay. And that's how Tony and Keith were, or Tony and Carl were. It was okay. Wait. They always kept raising the bar, and before you knew it, the gloves were off and they were having a fist fight.
So on the fire department, you're obviously on the UFC, on pay-per-views. What was the local chatter like in the firehouse?
They were all behind it. And in all honesty, that job is probably one of the only reasons that I was able to continue fighting in the UFC was because the schedule. I was lucky enough to work. I think we're scheduled 100 to 110 days a year. So 265 days I get to be a full-time fighter. So training to fight, still holding a full-time job. If I needed time off, we got what's called Kelly days. We could swap Kelly days, vacation days, stuff like that. So getting the time off for the fights and for training was fairly simple. And they were all behind it. They enjoyed it. They would get we don't have the cable boxes at the firehouse, but anytime they were on ESPN or stuff like that, they would all gather up at the firehouse and watch it.
There's actually one last question I have, and I hope it's not a sensitive subject for you. If so, I'll edit this. I remember after watching one of your fights at Hammond Civic Center, you dedicated your fight to your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And first and foremost, would you mind explaining, why and how's he doing?
Yeah, he was burned 98% of his body, second and third degree burns when he was 2.5.
Oh,
yeah. He was a little guy. I mean, he's almost 30 now. So, I mean, they airlifted him to the hospital. They actually landed a helicopter on 94. The ambulance met up with the helicopter on 94 and flew him out.
And it was just a freak accident, or?
So he was always into motor stuff, lawnmowers, 4-wheelers, dirt bikes, stuff like that. He loved riding on dirt bikes and 4-wheelers. And he was supposed to be with my sister at the neighbor's house. Well, he decided he didn't want to stay over there. So he walked back across the yard to our house, and he was down we had a drive under garage, but we didn't use it as a drive under garage anymore. It's kind of like a little tool shop and, just stuff that when my dad needed to do stuff. And he took a gas can and tried filling up his little bubble lawnmower. And when the hot water heater ignited, it lit that gas can on fire. Yeah.
Eddie, I mean, the love you had for him and like how much you would champion him as a source for your strength.
Yeah.
Where it came from.
Sure.
Spoke volumes of your character.
Sure. Absolutely. It was I believe he was clinically dead in the helicopter.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He was declared clinically dead 2 or 3 times in the helicopter. And, when my parents got to the University of Chicago, they said if he makes it through the night, I mean, like halves of percents that he's going to make it through the night. And if he can put up with, that was my biggest thing then, was if he can deal with that shit and that stuff that he went through. I mean, what's the big deal of suffering for 15 minutes? I can breathe heavy and bleed for 15 minutes if he can go through that for how many years?
Lifetime. Yeah. How's he doing now?
He's a knucklehead, but
good.
We all are.
Good.
We all are. Yeah. Yeah. He's like good. I said, he's in October. October, I'm 39. I'm 9 years old. I'm gonna be 39. Jeez, oh Pete's. Yeah, he's gonna be 30 in October.
Good.
So have it at 2.5, and he's gonna be 30 years old.
Well, I mean, it's the way that you would make sure that he got the attention that he deserved. Man, it brought tears to a lot of our eyes, dude.
Sure.
It really did. And it was just because of just how strong that bond was between you. It was awesome. It was awesome to see. It still is awesome.
Absolutely.
So, Eddie, thank you so much, man. Sincerely appreciate it.
I'm glad we both finally got our schedules to line up. I know we've been shooting for this for a couple of months now. So yeah. Yep.
Either way, Eddie, I sincerely appreciate it. And I hear like you're coaching out in Indiana with Keith Wisniewski also. He's got kids on the team.
Yeah.
So I think next year I'm going to have to come out and see one of your meets, man, for sure.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Excellent. Take care, buddy.
Take care, Mike.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.